Hey y'all, it's life coach and licensed therapist Robin May, and welcome to the I Believe in Marriage YouTube channel. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. Y'all, we have a big goal. We want 500 subscribers by this summer, and you can help us. So please subscribe, comment, share the video so that we can meet our goal. All right, y'all, I'm super excited because as you know, if you've been rocking with us, I have been giving you a peek into the Can You Hear Me Now communication course. Now, y'all, this course is my baby. I have poured my years of clinical expertise, my personal experiences, my spiritual sensitivity into this one course. If you and your spouse go through this course, you're going to have some aha moments. You're going to understand one another better, and you're going to get practical strategies to help you shift the communication in your marriage. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about what the course is and what I've been doing in this series. The Can You Hear Me Now course is broken down into 3 modules, and each module has about 6 lessons in it. And so what I've been doing is giving you a little bit of one of the lessons in each module. So week 1, we looked at the module of the very first module, which is the assessment phase. That's module 1. And that's what we're trying to figure out what you and your spouse are bringing to the table when it comes to your communication. What is the stuff you're bringing? What is the stuff your spouse is bringing so that you can figure out what's going on? The next module is module 2, and this is when we start to identify what's going on. It's the identification phase. We're looking specifically at your situation. What are the things that are specifically happening in your communication in your marriage? Well, now it's time for module 3, for me to give you a peek into one of the lessons in module 3. And module 3 is the adjustment phase. This is when we start putting the rubber to the road. This is when we start doing some things specifically to begin to shift the communication in our marriage. And I'm super excited about this week because what I've done previously is give you a snippet of one lesson in each module. Well, today I'm showing you pretty much the entire lesson of one of the lessons in module 3. Are you following with me? So module 3 has about 6 or 7. That one might have 8 lessons, but in the lesson I'm going to share with you, I'm going to share with you pretty much the entire lesson, all right? And so I'm excited to dive in. This lesson is 2 communication styles that I think are life changers in your marriage and in how you communicate with your spouse. One of the lessons is proactive communication, and the other lesson is goal-directed communication. So that's what we're going to be talking about. And so in just a minute, we're going to transition over to the course where you're going to actually watch that lesson, and then I'll come back and wrap it up. All right? Let's go on over there. Well, welcome to your next lesson in Module 3. This is a quick lesson in which I want you to quickly learn 2 types of communication tips that you and your spouse should master. Now remember, in this module, we are diving into specific strategies that you can use to improve your communication. I want you to leave this module and this course, not just with information, not just with clarity, but with specific tools in your toolkit that you can pull from. And in this lesson, you're going to add to your toolkit 2 specific types of conversations that's going to help you learn how to fight the loop. What in the world is the loop? Well, the loop is that same issue that couples find themselves dealing with over and over again, and they can't seem to get around it. You know the one. It feels like you're on a merry-go-round. You find yourself back at the same place wondering how to stop the ride because it's not even fun anymore. Mastering these 2 types of communication tips will help you and your spouse cut down on the number of heated, intense, challenging conversations because you are doing the preventative work necessary. And let me tell you this, don't feel bad if this is the first time you're hearing any of this. The truth is, most of us don't know this until someone teaches it to us. And listen, you were wise enough to invest in your marriage, so you are learning these tools. And these tools will be a game changer for your marriage. All right, here we go. I want to share with you these 2 communication tips. The first one is a conversation style that I want you to learn. It's called proactive conversations. Speaking of the preventative work, one of the ways that you and your spouse can prevent certain challenges is by having a proactive conversation. One of the sayings that I got from my husband, and I use it all the time, is this: those that are reactive will always serve those who are proactive. Y'all, I love that. If you are always in reaction mode, you can never get ahead. You are always catching up instead of being in front of a situation. When you study the word proactive, it means to be active before. So I want you and your spouse to learn to be active before a situation goes left. Like I said earlier, most couples argue about the same thing over and over, but it just shows up differently. Once you realize that, you can start to pay attention to when those issues show up, and you can have a proactive conversation to prevent it. Let me use one of my case studies. I worked with a particular couple for a long time, and during our work together, I took them through Module 1 and then Module 2. When we got to Module 2, to the identify stage, we discovered that often their biggest challenge occurred when his mother was in town. The husband's mother lived out of the country, so she was not in town often, but when she was in town, it was for a very long time. I'm talking like 2 months. The wife had somewhat of a strained relationship with her mother-in-law. She could not put her finger on it. It just wasn't a pleasant relationship. And the relationship that the husband had with his mother did not help. Remember in Module 1 when we talked about family roles? Well, the husband had always been the golden child in his family. He was the youngest of 7 children, and he was the one that was deemed the most successful. So that meant his mother was very protective, guarded, and particular about her son. So when the mother would come and visit, this couple would find themselves in some type of argument every single time. It was either something the mom said to the daughter-in-law, or something the husband said to his wife in front of his mom, or sometimes it was something the wife said to the mother-in-law. But it would always end up in some type of argument that would last well past when the mother would head back home. This is when I began to teach them about proactive conversations. Remember our definition of proactive, being active before. This couple had to learn the importance of having a conversation before his mother would come to visit, to talk through how they were going to deal with those dynamics. You'll learn in Lesson 5 of this module more strategies that would be beneficial in this type of situation, but this one is so important. They learned to review what had happened in the past so that they could prepare for what could likely happen moving forward. Now listen, I taught the wife that it was pointless to try to get her husband to see his mother through the lens that she saw her. I taught the husband how to be sensitive to his wife's experience with his mother, even if he didn't fully agree with her perspective. And I taught them both to have a conversation in advance about how they would handle those awkward moments that always seemed to arise. They even came up with a special phrase that they would both use when triggered so they could go ahead and get out of that situation. These proactive conversations help them to be on one accord well before the situation ever occurred. Okay, that's the first type of conversation. Here is the second type of conversation that I want you and your spouse to master. Type 2 is called goal-directed conversations. Now, coming up soon, I'm going to teach you about shared reality, where you and your spouse learn to get on common ground. Well, goal-directed conversations do the same thing. If you have had a breach in a tough conversation with your spouse, it's important that you are clear on the goal you want to achieve. Do you simply want your spouse to know what's on your mind? Do you want to make a decision, but you need their input? Do you want to gain clarity on a situation that the two of you may be facing? Before you even start the conversation,
Asking yourself these questions helps you to know what it is you want to achieve from the conversation. Listen to this. A purposeful conversation is way more effective than a rambling one. When you get clear on your goal, it will help you and your spouse stay focused and not go down that infamous rabbit trail that keeps us on the merry-go-round of crazy. Once you are clear on what your goal is, you can then share your goal with your spouse so that they can know what to expect. Here is another one of my famous scripts. I know y'all are loving it. Okay, I want you to try this. Hey, honey, I wanted to talk to you later on this evening about how we're going to handle all the logistics for the upcoming holidays. I don't want to make decisions about when we have to go somewhere, what we're going to do without your input. Is tonight a good time for that conversation? With that script, you have shared with your spouse what it is you want to talk about and why you want to talk about it. I'm going to give you another script. What about this one? Hey, babe, the other day you said that you were frustrated and I didn't really understand why. Do you have time later on for us to talk about it so that I can get more clarity on where you're coming from? Again, you are sharing what you want to talk about, in this case, the conversation you and your spouse previously had, and you're sharing why you want to talk about it so that you can gain clarity. Goal-directed conversations are really good at helping your spouse not feel ambushed and put on the spot because they have a chance to know in advance where the conversation is going. All right, y'all, that's it. Those are the two conversations that you must master: proactive and goal-directed conversation.
Y'all, I'm telling you, if you could just practice those two communication styles, if you could focus on working on proactive communication and goal-directed communication in your marriage, I'm telling you, it will begin to shift some things in how you and your spouse communicate. I hope you really got an aha from that lesson within Module 3 of the Can You Hear Me Now communication course. Now listen, y'all, I keep saying this as I've gone through this series. You want to invest in the Can You Hear Me Now communication course right now. You don't want to wait. Trust me, there's some changes coming and I don't want you to miss out if you've been rocking with me for a while. So go ahead, click the link in the description of this video to go ahead and invest in the Can You Hear Me Now communication course. I'll talk to you soon.